Across the internet, a groundbreaking new substitute for compassion has been found. Finally, no more decades of hard-won character building, no more need for cultivating love for your neighbor, no more concrete deeds of service and self-giving. Today, instead of demonstrating a great heart, all we need to do is demonstrate thin skin. Thin skin is the new big heart. Want to appear compassionate online? Just get outraged, and make sure you're outraged on behalf of a perceived victim. Tweet out to your followers how you are shaking with anger, how you literally cannot see straight. Tweet out GIFs of people banging their heads on things. Write about how you can't even. Make sure not to finish that sentence. That will communicate perfectly your can't evenness. And presto, this is all the evidence you need to prove to the world that you are totally woke. Did I say that right? You're woke. You're woking it to the max. You've got woke factor 5,000. Am I saying this right? Like you are totally on the right side of privilege. Is that what I meant to say? I can't keep up. I genuinely can't keep up with all the right things I meant to say. I meant to be outraged by The Simpsons because it makes fun of Apu Nahasapima Pedalon. I can't help thinking, though, that The Simpsons makes fun of everyone. Let me remind you that The Simpsons chiefly represents white Americans as The Simpsons. Speaking as an Australian, we were mercilessly parodied in Season 6. Does anyone remember this?
I'll just have a cup of coffee.
Beer it is.
No, I said coffee.
Beer.
Cough-E.
B-ear.
C-O-B-E.
Or this?
These bloody things are everywhere. They're in the lift, in the lorry, in the Bond Wizard, and all over the Malonga Gilderchuck.
They're like kangaroos, but they're reptiles, they is.
We have them in America. They're called bullfrogs.
What? That's an odd name. I'd have called them chaswazzers.
Or this?
I'm gonna report this to me Member of Parliament. Hey, Gus! I got something to report to you.
That's a bloody outrage, it is. I'm gonna take this all the way to the Prime Minister. Hey, Mr. Prime Minister! Andy!
Aye, mate. What's a good word?
Speaking as an evangelical Christian, here's my representative.
Neighbor, I heard about your heresy and we've made it our mission to win you back to the flock.
No sale.
Homer, Christian life isn't all praying and sacrifice. Hey, dig this.
God said to Noah, there's gonna be a floody.
And speaking as a church minister, let's hear from Reverend Lovejoy.
Hello, Ned.
Reverend, emergency. You see, the Simpson kids, Italy, baptism, doodly doodly.
Ned, have you thought about one of the other major religions? They're all pretty much the same. Damn Flanders.
No, but Apu, the most impossibly hardworking, the most impossibly family-minded man, who pretty uniquely on the show represents a positive spiritual role model, Apu is cultural appropriation. What is cultural appropriation? Well, just ask Kezia Daum. When this school kid wore a Chinese dress to the prom, one outrage junkie destroyed her online by tweeting, "My culture is not your goddamn prom dress." This deliciously spicy shot of splenetic woke juice really hit the spot with 40,000 retweeters. Now, many Chinese people were more than happy for Kezia to wear that dress. But here is the fascinating thing. Most of the Twitchfork mob expressing displeasure about the dress were not Chinese. Think about that. There were a whole bunch of white people expressing anger that, properly speaking, is appropriate to Chinese people. What do you call that? I call cultural appropriation. They are stealing outrage from another culture and using it to signal their own virtue. How dare they? This is cultural appropriation of the worst sort, because nothing has more market value these days than the virtue of being a victim. And so, think about what's going on with the shame storm around this dress. A whole bunch of white people, is there no end to their colonial designs? A whole bunch of white people have sought to appropriate the victim status of others. And they've done it by supposedly shuddering with anger alongside their imagined stereotype of a culture that they expect to be as thin-skinned as they are. Now, I think there might be such thing as cultural appropriation. I can imagine that if I was actually Native American and you wore a feathered headdress to my fancy dress party, I might laugh it off, like when B&Q employees all wore cork hats for Australia Day earlier this year. I might laugh it off, or probably I would say to your face, though, bro, I feel a little ridiculed and demeaned by this. Not cool. Let's talk. I don't think online shame storms are called for, nor should anyone feel righteous because they have the right view of feathered headdresses. But I can understand there might be a thing called cultural appropriation. But then, aren't the feminists right when they say the transgender movement might be a form of cultural appropriation? I don't know. That sounds like an argument that's worthy of consideration. If wearing a dress once is cultural appropriation, what do you call demanding to be treated as a woman for life? I don't know. If cultural appropriation is a thing, maybe the feminists have got a point. But no one on the other side ever has a point. So we trade in outrage and we shake with anger and we tweet our virtue on topics that change every 5 minutes, and frankly, I just can't keep up. And maybe I can't keep up because that's what everyone's trying to do. Keep up. Keep up with the trends, keep up with the movements, keep up appearances. That's why we're so thin-skinned, because we've invested our entire sense of self into causes and movements and identities so ephemeral, they'll probably be branded as bigoted by our children. But while we're swapping big hearts for thin skins, there is a God whose eternal heart beats for you and who loves you beneath the mask, so why not drop the mask? Instead of trying to look good in the presence of shame, just look bad in the presence of love. And instead of cultivating thin skin, allow him to cultivate a big heart in you, a heart that loves Apu and loves the people that might be offended, that loves Kezia Baum and that might love the people who've gotten outraged too. Or not. You can get outraged if you want. But don't think it's virtue. All you've done is swap a big heart for a thin skin. And that is not much of a trade. My name's Glen Scrivener. This is Speak Life, and you're watching the livecast.
Livecast, welcome to the livecast, welcome to the show. Livecast, welcome to the livecast, welcome to the show.